Hey, thanks for joining us online today. We believe that Jesus wants to do so much through you and for you, and we'd love to hear about how he's working in your life. Please take a second to email your story to stories@rise-church.com. We hope this message leaves you feeling uplifted and encouraged. Enjoy.
We're going to jump into the sermon today. And for the past 3 weeks, we've been in the book of James. We're going to take a pause on James today. We're going to come back next week, and I'm going to preach chapters 4 and 5. From time to time in our church, and if you come to our church for any number of weeks, months, you know that we teach through series. And we really plan our series out. Like, I know what I'm preaching on the rest of the year, and I have it planned out, and it's things that God has put on my heart. But I always try to listen and say, God, I want to make sure that at any point, if there's something else that you want to say, that I listen to you and that I say the words that you want to say. And I felt like this was a week that God said, I got something different that Rise Church needs to hear. And so let me just set it up like this. I went away on vacation for 2 weeks. I came back the day we got back from vacation. I got a phone call from one of our team members saying, hey, there's a family in our church that just lost their son. That's not the phone call you want to hear on your day back from vacation. The next day, we found out about something else. The next day was something else. And it really kind of happened about 6 or 7 days straight about just things that were going on. And then it bled into this week as well. And it was kind of just like, oh my gosh. Because as a pastor of a church, let me tell you what I enjoy doing. I love hearing you come up to me and saying, we're having another baby. This is number 7. And I'm just like, that's great for you. It's a joyous occasion. Or look, we got engaged. We're getting married. Awesome. I got a promotion. Pastor, I started tithing, and then God's I love hearing stuff like that. You know what's hard as a pastor? Walking through the darkest days of people's lives. But that's what we're called to do. And so I don't enjoy it, but it's an honor to be able to just walk alongside you and say, hey, tell me about what you're going through. How can I help? How can our church help? And what I love about our church is that, you know, in typical church, everything falls on the pastor, and so he has to be like the guy that does all the hospital visits and everything. We don't function like that because you guys are ministers of the gospel of Jesus. And so when people hurt in our church, sometimes I'm the last one to find out about it. And then when I find out, I'm like, oh, man, what can we do? Oh, no, we're good. My small group already took care of it. My serve team already took care of it. Like, people are already here in our home. That's awesome. And so it was story after story after story, and I'm just like, my heart was just breaking. Just like, man, people are hurting. Maybe you're here in this place today, and you got some hurt going on in your life. Maybe you're walking through some of the darkest days of your life, and this is just what God put on my heart. It was one word. It's the word hope. And I felt like God said, Adam, I need you to remind the people of Rise Church that hope is found in me. And if you're here this morning and you could use some hope in your life, we are going to give it to you. If you're here and everything's good in your life right now, you are in a great position to give hope away to other people. And specifically, I really heard God say it like this: Adam, you are called, and your church is called to be hope dealers. And I mean it exactly like I said it. That we are meant to deal hope. That is I'm not going to use the word drug because it's not a drug. But that is what we are here to offer you. That hope is found not in something, but someone. How many of you know that hope has a name, and his name is Jesus? And so the supply that we have is limitless. And we get to sling it and slang it everywhere that we go. We get to pass it out in here. Every Sunday morning that you gather in this place, guess what we're going to do? We're going to fill you with hope. Amen. And then guess what you get to do? You get to take it out of this place, and you get to give it out on the streets, on the street corners, in your neighborhood. What's up, everybody? Hope. Come get some. It's free. And the goal, we want you to get you hooked on hope. And the source, the supplier of all this hope is Jesus himself. So if you're here this morning and you need some hope, we're going to give it to you. We are going to give it to you this morning, so I pray that you would open your hearts and get ready to receive this word. Let's start out by defining what hope is and what hope isn't. You ready? Hope is not, it's not positive thinking. It's not optimism. It's not wishful thinking. Hope is confidence. It's confidence. This will be up on the screen. Write this down. Hope is a constant expectation that God is working in my life even when I don't see it. You ever been there before? You ever been going through something and you're like, hey, God, like, do you see what's going on right now? Where are you? Hope is being able to step into that moment of whatever it is that you're facing and go, God, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know why I'm going through this, but I just trust in this moment that you're doing something even if I can't see it. Jeremiah 29:11 is a popular verse. If you've grown up in church, you probably know this by heart. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. Hey, listen, when God looks down at you, he says, oh, I know exactly what I want to do in their life. I got a plan for you. I've had a plan from the very beginning. I formed you in your mother's womb, and I laid out a plan for your life. God is not up in heaven pacing going, what am I going to do with them? Oh, my me, what am I going to do? And I said, oh, my me, because he's God, so he doesn't have to say, oh, my God. You didn't miss it. That's okay. You didn't get it. You're laughing now. Very cool. God's not like, man, what am I going to do with that person? No. When he looks down at you, he says, I know exactly what I want to do with them. I have a plan for them. And get this, it's not to hurt you. It's not to get you. It's to prosper you. Now, I'm not preaching a prosperity gospel that everything is sunshine and rainbows and everything's always going to work out, because that's not how life is. It just means that God has your best interest at heart. It means that what he wants to do in your life is better than what you want in your life. And his plans for you are to give you a future and a hope. And here's what I've understood about God's plans, about following Jesus for 17 years of my life. It'll be up on the screen. I don't have to know the plans to know that God has a purpose. So God, you got a plan for my life? Cool. I have no idea what it is. I know you called me to start a church. We've been doing this for 5 years. I don't know what the next 5 years are going to look like. I don't know what the next 10 years are going to look like. And just so everybody's aware, like I had somebody ask me one time, well, like, what are you going to do? You're going to pastor this church for a little bit and then move on to something bigger and better? No. We are putting down roots. That's right. I'm going to spend the rest of my life here. I'm going to like, shout, yeah. You know what I mean? 90 years old preaching up here on this stage. Listen. We ain't going anywhere. This is our home. This is what God has called us to do. Jacksonville, Florida, the west side of Jacksonville. Rise Church is where I will spend the rest of my life, because that's what God has called me to do. But I thought you were going to clap louder. That's okay. Come here like, I don't know. We might need somebody else, man. I'm not sure. I know that's what God's called me to do, but I don't know what the path looks like. I don't know what the next 10 years are going to. I got 3 kids. I don't know what God's doing in their lives. He needs to do something, please, Jesus. Listen, I don't know the plans. I don't have to, though, because I know that God has a purpose for my life. I know that he knows the plans. So if he knows the plans, then I can trust his plans. I love this verse out of Proverbs. It's a verse that many of you might have memorized as well, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Hey, trust in the Lord with, everybody say, all your heart. Not some of it, not a little bit, not most of it, all your heart. You got to learn to trust in God with all of your heart. And this, you got to lean not on your own understanding. Listen, don't lean on what you think is best. Don't lean on what you see in front of you. Don't put your confidence in your own mind. Listen, some of y'all have some conference calls in your mind with yourself. Well, should I do that? Should I do that? I don't know. No. You're crazy. Don't listen to yourself. Don't lean on what you think. Lean on God. It goes on to say this, in all your ways, in everything that you're doing, submit to him. Surrender it to him. God, what do you want? And he will make your path straight. How does God make your path straight? Because he knows the plan. He knows what he's doing. And here's the good news. If you get off the path, He's so good that he will pick you up by your pants and put you back on the path because he loves you. So you screwed up your life, he's bigger than your screw up. He's bigger than your failure, and he can put you back on the path that he has for you. But if you don't trust God, then you will lose all hope. If you don't trust that God's moving and doing something in your life, then you're going to wake up every single morning with no hope. You're going to go to bed every single night with no hope for the next day. But if you put your trust in God, trust builds hope. And it will take you from, well, God, I really hope you work this out, to, God, I believe you're going to work this out. I believe you're going to do something, because when I went through this a couple years back, you were faithful and you were good and you were with me. So if you were that then surely you're going to be that now. He's the same God. So somebody in this place just needs to know, like, you're walking through some hard times right now. You're walking through some of your darkest days, and maybe you think that God's abandoned you. He hasn't. He loves you. He cares for you. And he is with you. I read about a guy named Charles Blondin. He was a tightrope walker, and he was famous for walking the tightrope across the Niagara Falls, 1,100 feet. And he would tie the tightrope across, and then he would walk across on the tightrope. And he was an entertainer. He was a showman. And so he would start on one side, and he'd have the stick that helped him balance, and he would walk across, and he'd get to the middle, and he'd look at everybody, and he'd just throw the stick away and go, ha, and then finish the rest without the stick. He would do handstands. He would lay down, put his hand, like he was famous. The one time he took some, like a little pan and an egg, and he cooked an egg on the tightrope. He's most famous for taking a wheelbarrow. Now, I have a confession to make. I'm 34 years old, and I just found out that it's not pronounced wheelbarrow. It's pronounced wheelbarrow. Raise your hand if you did not know that. West Side. My wife was leading the serve day, and we were spreading mulch, and we were at the dining room table one night, and she was like, oh, we're going to need a bunch of wheelbarrows. And I was like, what did you just say? And she was like, a wheelbarrow. And I was like, that's not how it's pronounced. It's a wheelbarrow. She goes on to the Google. I said, woman, I'm 34. I've been pronouncing a wheelbarrow my whole life. It ain't changing now. On West Side, through and through. It's a wheelbarrow. So he takes the wheelbarrow. Seriously, one more time, raise your hand if you didn't know that. Look at us. Education system has failed us. And he starts walking it across the tightrope. Makes it to the other side. Puts a 50-pound bag of potatoes in it. Walks it back. Everybody's cheering. There's hundreds, thousands of people there. And he gets there, and on that specific day, there was some royalty that had came to see him. So he walks the potatoes in the wheelbarrow, and he shouts to the crowd, how many of you think I can put a person in this wheelbarrow and walk them across the tightrope? And everybody cheers, yeah! And he looks at the royalty, the Duke, and he says, Duke, do you think that I can do this? And he's like, absolutely. And then he says, then get in the wheelbarrow. And the Duke's like, no. And he shouts to the crowd, who wants to get in the wheelbarrow? Nobody. Finally, a little old lady walks out and gets in. And he walks her across the tightrope. Turns out it was his mom. Mom. I mean, y'all know mamas are good for something. Let's go. That came out wrong. They had seen him do it. They had seen, like, this guy's, like, he's obviously got skills. They believed he could do it. When it came down to them actually being the one to put their confidence and trust in him to do it, nobody was willing. I think our relationship with God can be a little bit like that. God, I know you can do this. until I go through it on my own. And then where are you? God, you're faithful. But now I'm in the storm and I don't trust you. And when you lose trust, you lose hope. Some of you walked in here today feeling hopeless. You didn't even want to come. What's the point? I'm not talking to people that are far from God. I'm talking to people like you've been following after Jesus forever. And you're struggling. And you're questioning. Sat across the room from a guy in our church that had a stroke this week. He's had health problems for a while now. His wife's going through some stuff. Their son's dealing with some stuff. They have moms and dads, aunts and uncles, all going through some stuff. And as a pastor, that's really hard to look at them and go, hey, yeah, man, God's good, isn't he? Because that answer sucks. In that moment. This is something that I learned a long time ago. I hope that you would hold on to this. You probably have heard this saying before. Don't doubt in the dark what God showed you in the light. So God, if you were good before I went into this storm, you're still good. God, if you loved me before I went into this, you still love me. Easier said than done. It's all in the application of trusting God, knowing his character. But God is a good God, and there is no one like him. When I was a kid, I grew up in Jacksonville on the west side, but we would go to the beach from time to time, and I hate the beach now, but as a kid, I think I liked it a little bit. I loved playing in the waves. And, you know, sometimes in Florida and Jacksonville, you get no waves. Sometimes you get decent waves. As a kid, you always want to go to the beach and there's big waves. And so we would go from time to time and, oh, man, the waves are big. Like, this is awesome. And my brother and I, we would go out and we had some friends with us. We'd play in the waves and jump over them and crash into them. And some waves, you know, some days were really big. And you would play in them and have some fun, but you would be able to see kind of like as the waves were rolling in, like, oh, here comes a small one. Oh, here comes a medium. Oh, man, that one coming looks pretty big. And so you'd see the wave coming, and you're like, all right, here it comes. Like, we're ready for it. And you would try to jump over it or dive under it or do whatever you could. You couldn't stop the wave from coming, but you could brace for it because you saw it coming. But as a kid, you weren't always focused. Sometimes as an adult in the ocean, I'm not always focused, and I'll have my back turned to the waves. And when they're rolling in, and they're kind of big, and all of a sudden, you turn and out of the corner of your eye, you see, oh man, that's a big wave, but you don't have time to prepare for it, and it hits you, and it knocks you to the bottom of the ocean floor. I found that life's a lot like that. There are some waves that you see coming. You can't stop them. It's coming, but at least you can brace for the impact. Then there are some waves of life that hit you where you did not see it coming, and when it hits, because you didn't see it coming, you are knocked down. And just like in the ocean, when that wave hits you that you didn't see coming, just about the time you recover and you get back up and you catch your breath, guess what happens? Another wave comes. That is life sometimes. Just about the time you recover from that one wave that hit, here comes the next wave. And here comes the next wave. And I've learned that in life that we go through seasons, and sometimes it's kind of like waves, that here they come, boom, boom, boom. Sometimes life is chill. The waves aren't big. It's easy. Like, oh, everything's good right now. Everything's peaceful in my home. But then other times those waves come and just, bam. Some of you are getting hit right now, and you don't even want to get back up. In John 14, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he's letting them know, hey guys, like, I'm about to die. Like, this is real, this is happening. And he says these words in John 14:1. Hey, don't let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God? Believe in me. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that classic Jesus? Jesus, you're about to die. The disciples should be comforting you, but you're the one that's comforting them? Because Jesus does that. That's who he is. He is the comforter. The Holy Spirit, we call him the comforter. And I love this verse in 2 Corinthians. Band, you can join me on the stage. 2 Corinthians 1, 3 through 4. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Come on, are you tracking with me? God is the very one that comforts you when you're going through a difficulty, so that you can then take the comfort that he gave you and you can give it to somebody else when they go through it. This is how the church functions. You've been through something difficult. You made it through. Man, can you talk to somebody over here that's going through the same thing that you went through? Your marriage didn't work out? Man, I need you to talk to this family over here because they went through the same thing. Look at them. God worked it out. You lost your job? Man, this guy lost his job a year ago. Watch how God has come through for him. You got some kid issues, man. This whole side of the room has kid issues over here. You know what I'm saying? We surround each other. We comfort each other.
Thanks for watching today. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram. If our church has had an impact on you and you'd like to support what Jesus is doing here, you can do so by going to rise-church.com/give and select the giving option that best suits you. Thanks for watching online and have a great week.